All right, what's going on, everybody? This is the Sunflower Showdown, episode 3, I think it is. Yeah, 3. I'm here with my main man, Liam. We're going to be talking about the latest with KU and K State. We missed last week because of Thanksgiving, but we're right back on here, so let's just get right into it. First off, biggest story of the day Kansas State coach Chris Klieman officially retired literally just a few minutes ago. Chris Klieman spent 7 years at Kansas State, winning, having a winning record every season except obviously the COVID year, being bowl eligible for all those years, really leaving a legacy of winning, really leaving a lasting impact. Yeah, one of the winningest head coaches in the Big 12, and Kansas State football has remained one of the most consistent teams in the conference. This came as a shock to me. There are some people calling for his job all season because Kansas State did have a disappointing year, but this was really shocking to me. I don't know if you saw this or had any thoughts on it, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I did see that today. I was also pretty shocked as well. I know he think he'd been dealing with some personal things this season. He'd be getting emotional in press conferences and stuff, and uh, just looks like he wanted to be done. And I mean, congratulations to him on a great career. He's been a great coach at Kansas State, and I think they got a pretty good replacement coming in. I think it was. I think I did see something about Colin Klein replacing him, but I don't know if that's official yet. But we'll see what happens there. But if he is a guy, I know he was at K State and just really good fit there.
No, yeah, I definitely agree. Salute to Kleiman, and to your point, Colin Klein coming in. He spent some years at Kansas State as a quarterbacks coach and offensive coordinator. So I have confidence in him going forward if that is the official next head coach. But man, this really does kind of hit hard because Chris Kleiman's been the coach ever since I started covering K State. That's kind of just been the standard. And when you're so accustomed to somebody being the head coach, you just don't think something like that could happen. And like, there's never been any reports or anything prior to today about him leaving. So yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where K State goes from here, but I know they'll have a bowl game coming up, so we'll see what happens with that. But just great career for him, and wish him the best.
No, yeah, definitely. And to your point, they are officially bowl eligible. They got the win over Colorado after a really difficult loss to Utah. Wasn't the prettiest game. Did come kind of down to the wire, but Joe Jackson pulled through in the end. 31. I think his final stat line was like 31 rushes, 142 yards, 3 touchdowns. Really just he's hit his stride in the second half of the season, especially with Dylan Edwards leaving the program. I think it's good that he's able to establish the run. Everyone was very high on Edwards being the next key marquee running back in the program, but now it looks like that's going to be Joe Jackson.
Yeah, it's been kind of cool to watch the K State running game kind of explode these last couple weeks. I mean, they ran for tons of yards against Utah, but weren't able to get that win. But they did the same thing in Colorado. They established a run and resulted in a win. So good win there to get bowl eligible, and it's been cool to see him kind of go into that RB1 role and take over.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think in order to win this bowl game, whoever they play, I think they just continue that, and then just Avery Johnson contain the ball, get it out to Tibbs, get it out to maybe Sterling Lockett. But I honestly don't think he needs to do too much going forward, like maybe some anticipated. Um, yeah, but moving on to basketball, it's been a skid since we last talked about K State. They lost to Nebraska, which is a decent Big Ten team, but they only lost by a point and were able to kind of rally in the second half, despite the lackluster offensive performance. However, they got blown out by Indiana, which was kind of expected because Indiana's a ranked team. But then they got blown out by Bowling Green, where they were expected to. They were projected to win. I think the betting odds had them like as 13-point favorites. So for them to just completely get blown out, PJ Haggerty looked bad. Abdi Bashir Jr. was once again a non-factor. Kamari McGriff didn't really do anything to write home about. Nate Johnson was absent. The only guy I could really give props to was David Castillo, who had 22 points in his first start of the season. Aside from that, this is very concerning early on for a team that's projected to be an NCAA tournament contender. Yeah, I don't know if you saw any of that, but it is a bit of an early concern for me.
Yeah, it definitely is concerning for me as well. I mean, they started out looking pretty good this season. I mean, they had that win over California. That was a pretty good win. And then just kind of doing well. They beat Mississippi State. And then, like you said, they lost to Nebraska and then to Indiana and then to Bowling Green. So you never want to lose 3 straight games, but to have one of those beat Bowling Green is just pretty discouraging. But I think they definitely have the talent to be an NCAA tournament team, but it's just whether or not they can mesh together and put all that talent together, working together well. But I think there definitely is room for concern here.
Yeah, and Jerome Tang was pretty upset in his press conference. He usually is like really mild mannered and kind of just like, oh, I'll take the blame, and he wants to, laud his players and stuff like that. But this press conference, he was pretty upset. He was like, I don't deserve the blame, but I'm gonna take it. And this was not, yeah, he was really upset. And he called out his players and basically said that we need to fix something. And I think that's necessary because last season they were predicted to be a tournament, contender, but they just, like you said, they couldn't mesh well. And, they just had all these new players that they couldn't, mend together. And that's looking like that may be a repeat this season. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely concerning for that. But, I mean, like I said, I think they do have the talent to be a great team. But hopefully Coach Tank can get them working together. He did seem pretty concerned in his press conference after that loss. But so hopefully that'll light a fire under the team. And, yeah. Do you have anything else about K-State basketball or football?
Just I hope for football wise, I hope they get the bowl win. Basketball wise, I hope they start to turn this around because, like you said, I do believe they have the talent. They wouldn't be a tournament contender early in the preseason if they didn't. I think somebody outside of Haggerty has to get going, whether it is Castillo or Nate Johnson. But I have faith that they'll turn it around, but kind of a bit concerning so far. But I do have faith in them. So, yep, go Wildcats.
Yeah, for sure. We'll keep an eye out for that K-State bowl game. I haven't looked at any of the projections yet, but hopefully it'll be a fun matchup there. Just kind of moving on to Kansas now. Team that unfortunately did not get that 6th win won't be playing in a bowl game. So KU finishes the season 5-7. Once again, just like last season, both times they had a chance in the final game of the season to get that 6th win. They weren't able to do it on Saturday against Utah. And name of the game is kind of like the Kansas State game against Utah. They had a chance to win that game, but just Jayden Daniels put it shortly. He just kind of threw 3 interceptions in a game like that where you're playing a really highly ranked team at home. That's just not going to cut it. One of them was the red zone interception, and then, of course, he threw a pick 6 that kind of put the nail in the coffin. But, I mean, it's disappointing to end the season 5-7. Lance Leipold, after the game, he pretty much frankly said that he's not doing enough. He's not meeting expectations, and he needs to be better. So it's really refreshing to see that accountability taken by him. In terms of Jayden Daniels, it sucks that that's how his career at Kansas ends because he's been around for 6 seasons. He really was a part of that rebuild of the Kansas football program. It sucks that it ended that way, but wishing nothing but the best for him because he's really good human, really good player as well on the field, just like I said earlier, it's just unfortunate that it ended that way. But in terms of the future of Kansas football, they ended 5-7 this season. You're going to want next season lots of new faces will be around. They'll probably hit the portal pretty hard. They're going to likely bring in, or they're going to need a running back. Both running backs are graduating there. We'll see what they do at quarterback. They've got Cole Ballard and Zeke Marshall that could probably compete for that position, but I wouldn't be surprised if they went in the portal to grab anyone. And Kansas did sign 17 players today on the signing day, so hopefully there's great talent in that class. And it's always good to get a good class coming in after graduating 33 seniors, so we'll see about that. But what do you think of the game on Saturday if you were able to catch any of that? And just what do you think about the future?
Yeah, I mean, I caught a little bit of the game. Like you said, it's very unfortunate for Jayden Daniels. Regardless of what you think about him, spending 6 years within a program and then having it end like that, where he had, I think, one interception, like three. Didn't have a good game at all, which sucks because the running game was actually really well. Both running backs grounded over 100 yards. But like we talk about all the time, Jayden Daniels and his turnovers, like they just cost him really bad against Utah. And like you said, against such like a high ranked team, you have to be like seemingly perfect, and he just wasn't. And on the defensive end, Devin Dampier, he went 15 of 25 for 253 yards and 3 touchdowns. He doesn't usually have like games like that. They usually win in the rushing attack. So I don't know. It just feels like Kansas's defense just finds like new ways to lose. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not often you see players spend 6 years in a program at all in college football. And I mean, especially today with the transfer portal, NIL, it's really just a testament to how loyal Jayden Daniels is. And he gave a lot to the program. So, of course, I wish nothing but the best for him in his future. But sucks that it had to end that way. But he's given his all for the program. But just kind of moving on to the recruiting class that Kansas brought in. I think they signed 17 players today. So, pretty good class there. I mean, they got a 4-star O-lineman, Caden Snyder. He's from Salina, so it's good to see Kansas is getting those in-state recruits. I mean, used to be K-State would just kind of run the table with that and the in-state recruits, but good to see them getting some help on the O-line. And then they did just have a recruit actually flip from Kansas. Caden Jones, running back, he flipped from Kansas to Oklahoma State. So big loss there. He's a really talented player. But overall, Kansas class ranks 53rd nationally. So pretty decent. And then, signed 17 players today, but finished season 5-7. And head coach Lance Leipold, he took a lot of that blame. He said he needs to be better. So we'll see what they do in the future. Do you have anything else about Kansas football? If you have anything for the future?
Yeah, no. Like I said, I would like to see, both KU and Kansas State, thrive at the same time. This new class brings a lot of hope and a lot of promise. I'm really interested to see what they do on their quarterback next season.
Yeah, for sure. There'll definitely be a void to fill there. I think they got some answers in the building already, and hopefully they can convince those players to come back. And I wouldn't be surprised if they brought in some more competition in the transfer portal. But just kind of moving over to basketball now. Kansas basketball went 3-0 in the Players Era tournament in Las Vegas. So, I mean, they played 3 games. They won every single one of them without their best player, and it was really promising, honestly. Lots of those players started to gel together. You saw players like Trey White, Melvin Council. They were just being much more aggressive with the absence of Darren Peterson, of course, with his hamstring issue. But Kansas was able to get 3rd place in that Players Era festival, which netted them $300,000 in NIL funds. So that's the cool part about that Players Era festival is there's NIL money on the table, and Kansas was able to come away with some of that. So they look good. They beat Notre Dame, Syracuse, Power 4 opponents. And then just kind of the marquee win in that third place game was against Tennessee. Kansas kind of just grinded one out. They got a lot from Elmarco Jackson, 5-star from a couple recruiting classes ago. He was injured all last season, but now in the absence of Darren Peterson, he's really stepped up. Flory Badunga showed what he can be for this team and what he can be as a center. And they just gelled really well. And then, of course, without Darren Peterson, you always want to see the team gel. And they looked like with inserting him back into the starting lineup, they could be a top 10, top 25 team, maybe even a Final Four contender with that talent. But, of course, he is still not playing. He unfortunately had to sit out the UConn game, of course. Head coach Bill Self said that he's about 95% right now, and he's looking to come back sooner rather than later. But we'll keep an eye on that. But in terms of last night's game, Kansas welcomed number 5 UConn to town. Pretty big matchup there. Kansas was in it most of the game. When you welcome a number 5 team without your best player, you just want to stay competitive. They did that. They even had a lead at halftime, and they just kind of let it slip away. A slow second half really propelled UConn to the win. UConn was kind of just clogging the paint, forcing Kansas to make outside shots. They only made 1 3 in the second half, so just kind of ran out of gas in the end. But I think overall the vibe right now with Kansas basketball is you're playing without your best player, and the product on the court looks pretty promising. So hopefully Darren Peterson can come back. Like I said, after the UConn game, Bill Self said he's at 95% right now. They're just trying to make sure there's no hesitation with his game, and they're not trying to risk anything this early in the season. So once they get him back up to 100%, hopefully he can do good. I don't know how much Kansas basketball you've watched this season, but if you've watched any, how do you think the team's looked without Darren?
I mean, they're ranked now, so that's very promising. Shows that they're on the up and up. Just kind of echoing what you said. They went 3-0 in their matchups up to the UConn game, and they only lost by 5 to UConn. So you have to imagine if Darren Peterson is in that game, they beat a top 5 team in the country. So I think that's just the difference between them now and them with him. So I think we're going to really see what they look like when he comes back. But like you said, they've been playing really well, made it back to the top 25, and I think it only goes up from here.
Yeah, for sure, though. Kind of after last night's game, they got 2 more big non-conference games starting on Sunday. They'll play Missouri and Kansas City, that rivalry game there. We'll see if Darren can go in that one, and then they'll go to North Carolina to play NC State. And then just kind of a couple more bye games for Kansas. And then it gets into the real meat of the schedule in the Big 12 conference schedule. But so far, Kansas 6-3 on the season. But those 2 losses have come to Duke, North Carolina, and UConn. So, I mean, if you had to pick 3 losses for any program in the country, those are not 3 bad losses. Those are 3 great losses. I mean, those are 3 of the best programs in the country. So, hopefully Kansas can get Darren Peterson back, but without him, they've looked pretty good. But overall, feeling pretty good about the Jayhawks right now. The team's fun. They look like they're having fun. They did those team interviews after the game. They all looked like they were having a lot of fun in Las Vegas. So hopefully they start to build chemistry and really become a fully gelled team. And then, of course, on Sunday, you got the rivalry game with Missouri. So that's all I've got for Kansas. You got anything? Last thoughts, wrap it up?
Nope. I've said everything I need to say.
Sounds good. I think we're going to be trying to get these out weekly, maybe try to get some more people on here, maybe some interviews if we can get those, and just try to get some special guests on here if we can pull those strings.
Yeah, no, for sure. Especially with signing day, we're going to try and get some recruits on the show. But, thank you all for tuning in. This is the Sunflower Showdown. We'll see you next Wednesday.